Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 162 of the 815 exchange. And well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are back. We are back, and football is back. Football is back. Thank God. Thank the Lord. Thank the good Lord. Football is back. My sanity will now go in and out throughout the next couple months as football is back, and it feels so sweet. Week 1 of the NFL was back, so of course that is the main event, which is the natural transition for me to tell you. Timestamps, as always, are embedded in the video or in the description below, along with everything else you could be looking for in this world. My social media links are also in the outro and in the description. And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. But like I said, we got college football to kick us off. We got NFL in the main event, and of course we got that little dabble of UFC 293 to talk about and what happened there. So yes, a very full episode. So go get your drink, go get your for your water, for your H2O, go get your food, go get your dinner, whatever it is. I know I upload this about dinner time, so get comfortable, get settled in, get ready. Because we got a potentially long one, but we definitely got a good one going. So how about we kick it off, like I said, no pun intended, with college football. And well. We still have to start off with Colorado, okay? Until the wagon falls off or it stops being a really big subject that people are talking about, we're going to continue with Colorado kicking us off. It's almost like Charlotte now. We will talk about Charlotte a little bit later on. But Colorado. Featured them last week on TikTok as well, so if you're from TikTok, welcome. But yeah, Colorado had Nebraska. There was big talk, ahead of this game. Everybody, I'm coming off the performance against TCU. Could Colorado do it again? Are they for real? What a completely deflating moment it would have been if Colorado comes out and lays an egg versus Nebraska and the hype just dies like that. Just like that. Well, after a very, we'll call it a competitive first quarter, which neither team was really too much of a threat. Really, that first half. Second half, Colorado was Colorado, or at least what Colorado is now, as Coach Prime and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and Xavier Weaver and the rest of that squad in Boulder, in their first ever home game in this new era, get the win against Nebraska, 36-14. Jeff Sims is not a collegiate. He is, at least he might be a collegiate quarterback. He is not a Division I, Power 5, or whatever we're calling it now, starting quarterback. He is absolutely not. I don't remember Jeff Sims. Now, I always knew he had like a turnover problem, but oh my God, it was like Gus Johnson and co. were talking about it. Him and Joel Klatt were talking about the problem, and then it was like instantaneously he would turn the ball over. Turned it over 3 times in this game. Each time very costly. He was horrid. Okay? Jeff Sims was horrid. I'm not going to, mince words here. He sucks. Okay? Jeff Sims sucks. He's not a good quarterback. It was just a terrible performance. 3 turnovers. He was not good. Shedeur was what you guys need to become accustomed with Shedeur. He wasn't as flashy, as dominant as he was against TCU, but he still got it done against the Cornhuskers. He had 393 yards, 3 touchdowns, one of which were rushing. But yeah, a very impressive performance from Shedeur. That callback, by the way, which he did very Caleb Williams-esque, improvised, made a bunch of people miss, and slung it halfway across the field. Absolutely disgusting. And he is rocking it up draft boards. So yeah, Shedeur balled out. Xavier Weaver, that was the receiver. It wasn't Travis Hunter. All right, Trav, he was more of a lockdown corner in this game. He wasn't, the flashy receiver with all the flash plays that he had against TCU. None of Colorado was. But Xavier Weaver was still that guy. He still had 10 receptions, 170, and a touchdown. Just shout out to X because, yeah, very, very impressive performance from him. Looking like he might have taken a jump, especially with Shedeur as his quarterback. And so, becoming potentially one of the best receivers in the country so far. So, yeah, shout out to Weaver. He got it done. Like I said, Trav was more lockdown territory this week. And that defense really did a great job in that second half, shutting down Nebraska. Won the shootout. I'm still, of course, not sold. by any means. I just think that Nebraska offense is not good, and Jeff Sims is just not a good quarterback. So I'm not completely sold on that Colorado defense. I think they have a hell of a test this coming week versus Oregon, who we're actually going to talk about in this segment and what they did this week. But nonetheless, Colorado gets it done. The run continues. You know, all the haters, it's not good for you. It's not good for you right now. It's not good for you. You know who else is not good for right now? The Wolfpack. This isn't a two-sweet. This is a Wolfpack in this case because Notre Dame continues to roll on so far in this season, this very, very young season. They win 45-24 in a rain-delayed, stormy, chaos, Raleigh-filled game with full of NC State, okay? Full of NC State. So much NC State happened in this game. It was the epitome, okay? Pure epitome of NC State in this game. Sam Hartman, though, the majestic hair, the rib bone, it's working, all right? 286 and 4 touchdowns, of course, in his 50th game against NC State in his career. He balled out. What did I tell you? I said week 1. Of course, Hartman has been balling out. Sam Hartman, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. You're used to this by now. I said estimate. I said week 1, after seeing what he did against, what was it, Navy and Ireland, I said estimate was going to be a problem. Need to watch out. What happened in this game? 134 yards and 2 touchdowns for Audric Estime in this game. He was a problem for NC State. No bigger problem than on the return from the delay. The first play from scrimmage. He takes it 80 yards to the house, and NC State never recovered from that play. I do have to give a shout out as well to Holden Stays. He had 4 receptions, 115, and 2 touchdowns for Notre Dame for the Fighting Irish, who just, like I said, very similar almost in a way to that Colorado game. Though I think NC State's a little bit better than Nebraska, where you kind of had this, like, balance. You know, the game was kind of hanging in the air through that kind of first half. This more so because of the weather and what was going on. But when we came back in the second half and then when we came back in the NC State-Notre Dame game, the top team showed their superiority and they just kind of took off. Notre Dame just took off. I do have to give a shout-out, though. Peyton Wilson, one of the best linebackers in the country. He had 14 tackles in this game. And, of course, shout out to the boy D-Boyk. Former high school teammate Devin Boykin, 11 tackles in this game. And yeah, they kind of held it down for NC State. Brennan Armstrong got picked off 3 times. He had 4 turnovers in this game, so he wasn't too great either. Virginia, I don't know if he's just still got that Virginia stench on him, and it's just not working. But yeah, he did not look like that guy. Notre Dame, however, it looks like they are going to be a threat this year, as you know Notre Dame historically is. Utah versus Baylor. Oh my goodness. This was, I mean, the score probably doesn't make this look like this was a classic, but this was a very tight game. This was a very tense game. I'm not going to say it was a very good game. It was a good game, but, you know, as much as we can call a game that went 20-13 a good game. And I'm gonna be honest. And this is not me being a hater because I'm a USC fan and I'm still spiteful for what Utah did to us last year. But that was a horrifically missed PI on that last play in Baylor. Not saying that even with that PI they'd have won, but they should have had that opportunity. That's all I'm going to say about that. But Baylor choked. Okay, Baylor was up 13-3 in the third quarter. Up 13-3. But one of the key things you'll see as a reoccurring theme this week is you have to finish teams off. You can't sit around and you can't just, you know, rest on your morals and hope to, like, survive. You have to finish teams off. Because if you don't, they're going to finish you off. And the teams that won this week in these close games I'm going to talk about finish teams off. Baylor did not finish Utah off, despite the fact that Bryson Barnes is hot garbage. I mean, they need Cam Rising desperately. Because they're not going to make it. They are not Utah without Rising. They are not. Barnes sucks. Okay? I'm being ruthless to quarterbacks this week. If you suck, you suck. And then he sucks. All right? Barnes does not have it. I hope we play them with Barnes. Actually, no. I want to play them at full speed because I want revenge. But Barnes sucks. Oh, I do not know why Nate Johnson, who came in and was much better, is not QB2 for Utah. I don't understand it. I don't know why he's not starting right now. But he isn't. He was much better than Barnes. Barnes sucked. Jaquaden Jackson, though, did have 129 yards. So that was, you know, a lot of the heavy lifting for Utah. And that defense showed up big time. I mean, both defense really showed up, to be completely honest. Besides Baylor crumbling a little bit in that fourth quarter. Both defense showed up overall. I mean, it was a really good defensive battle. I think both defenses had, really good plays, caused a lot of 3-and-outs. Not a lot of turnovers in this game, but still very, very good. But yeah, Utah able to close the show. Baylor could not, and they start 0-2. I think Dave Aranda has lost 6 straight games, which is not a great, not a great period for him. His seat is warming up a little bit, to say the least. Ole Miss takes down Tulane 37-20. Another game. Touch and go until one team takes off. This is one of 2 ranked matchups, by the way, this week. Big loss, though, for Tulane. They were without starting quarterback Michael Pratt. He was injured in the last game. Playing in garbage time. Got to do better than that. And, yeah, ultimately, that ended up somewhat being the difference. Ole Miss was still a little bit better, of course, on paper and on talent. And, it showed in this game. But still, having Pratt makes such a big difference for this Tulane team. And, yeah, without him, just wasn't the same. Dart had 308 and 2 touchdowns. Wasn't his best game, but it was still solid nonetheless. Dayton Wade had 7 receptions, 106. Jared Ivey, however, had the game-sealing fumble return to just kind of put the game in the way with under a minute to go. So, yeah, Ole Miss outlast Tulane 37-20. It was a very, very good game. But, yeah, Tulane, you got to wonder what if we had Mike Pratt, what could have been different. The U might be back, ladies and gentlemen. The U might be back. I'm not going to say they're back, but boy, hey, looking real good. You know who's not looking real good? Jimbo Fisher is looking like, a top-tier finesser. A top-tier finesser. It's legalized bank robbing what he's done to Texas A&M. Because, boy, oh boy, all of the money and the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars dumped into this program and into him and the number 1 recruiting classes and all the bagmen, and it's just not working out at all. Miami just, bullied Texas A&M in this game. 48-33, they get the win. We've talked about Mr. TVD, Mr. Van Dyke. We have talked about Mr. TVD, and the media has talked about TVD. Once was considered possibly in what is, now a very, very loaded, as we talked about last week, quarterback class. We talked about him amongst the top 3 at one point in time. He was up there. He was one of the guys. Fell off a little bit last year, but boy, if he plays like he did against Texas A&M, ain't no telling. 21 for 30, 374, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 touchdowns through the air for TVD. It was a gorgeous performance. Restropo, when he wasn't giving Texas A&M problems in the return game, had 6 receptions, 126. Jacoby George, however, was the guy. He had 94 yards, and a hat trick of touchdowns. Cam Kitchens looked the part of one of the best safeties in the country. However, he did get injured, so wishing the best for him. But that Miami defense caused issues, though, 33 points. But still, we're giving all types of causing havoc. Connor Weidman, who I think is going to be a very good quarterback still. 336, 2 touchdowns. He's had 2 picks as well. Caused him problems. Only his second start, so, seeing some of that youth. But Miami's defense showed flashes. And with TVD playing like that, they are a very, very, very dangerous team. I do have to give a shout out, though, to Evan Stewart, former number 1 receiver coming out of high school. He did have 11 receptions and 142 yards. So good game from Stu, but yeah, it wasn't enough. The U gets it done at home. Nobody was at that game, it looked like, but still nonetheless, they get it done. They take out TAMU. Jimbo Fisher is a great used car salesman, and he looks like he is finished. UNC takes out App State. They need to play all the time. I know it's not good for Carolina fans or even App State fans' health, but man, this series has just been great. It's been great. I think every single game of this series we've talked about on this show. In the 3 years now I've been doing this, I think every single year we have talked about Carolina at App State. And it's always been some razor-thin close game and just been an instant classic. All right, every single game is an ESPN instant classic. Shout out to NCAA football series, okay? UNC gets it done 40-34 in double overtime after they get a 4th down stop on App State and are able to shut the door. It wasn't Drake. Which is the second week we're saying this. And for the guy that's supposed to, not that he's not looked like the, number 2 guy behind Caleb. Not that he hasn't shown that talent. But I'm just saying, we've had some great quarterback play so far this season. And I haven't really been able to say Drake May has been a part of that yet. Now, maybe it'll come. Probably will come. But it hasn't been there yet. It hasn't mattered, though, yet for Carolina, of course, this, far in the season. Amarion Hampton said, I got it. Drakeo, relax. It's cool. I got it. 234 and 2 touchdowns. App State could do nothing. Could do nothing to stop him and could do nothing to stop the run, and that ended up being their undoing. Amarion Hampton was phenomenal in this game. 234 and 3 touchdowns, like I said. Just a dominant game. And once again, it's another week where I'm talking about this Carolina front seven, man. It's another week. The talent that Mac Brown has recruited and that staff has put into developing that front seven, it is paying off. Cedric Gray, once again, he had 11 tackles. Power Echols had 9. And they had 2 clutch plays in that overtime period to shut down App State and to secure the win for Carolina. So credit where credit is due, even though it is the Tar Heels, and you all know how I feel about Chapel Hill. But I got to give credit where credit is due. That Carolina front seven, they make plays. I like it. I like what they got. Now, unfortunately, it's a crap situation with Tez Walker, and we're seeing what happens with this offense. But you know what? Carolina is a solid team. App State is as well. Okay, I want to give some credit to App State as well for fighting and really putting themselves in a position. They didn't have a starting quarterback. So Aguilera was still very, very good. He had 317, 2 touchdowns. They throw a pick. Nate Noel had 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. Deshaun Davis had 7 receptions, 117 and a touchdown. So still some good offensive production for App State, but in the end, Chapel Hill, Chapel Thrill, still able to get it done. No Drake, no needed. Hampton, he got it. He got it. Now, before I run out of time here in this first section of my recording, we got to talk about that game. We got to talk about it. I tried to tell you, the only thing I asked for this year is I want my flowers, okay? The one thing y'all can do for me this season is just give me my flowers, okay? That's all I ask is my flowers, okay? I just want my flowers. So when I told you that Alabama didn't have it, when I told you that Alabama doesn't have the same dogs, they're not that same Alabama. They don't strike fear in anybody. It's Alabama, it's Saban, but they don't got that same juice. When I said that, you should have listened. Because a lot of y'all were still shocked that Texas was able to walk into Tuscaloosa and take down the number 3 Crimson Tide. But me, I was not surprised. I watched the game last year. I know what Alabama has, and boy, oh boy, this was just redemption. Redemption in some ways for UT, and just for me, it was glorious. It was glorious to be right. Texas gets the win, 34-24, in this almost top 10 matchup. I think Texas was ranked 11th, but anyway, I was right. Quinn Ewers is that guy. He is. He wasn't, he got injured last year. He didn't get injured this year. 349 and 3 touchdowns for Quinn. Jatavion Sanders is going to be one of the premier tight end prospects in this year's draft. He had 5 receptions, 114. Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. Now, 2 very, very talented receivers. Don't get me wrong. Very, very, very talented. If they clean up the drops, oh boy, this Texas offense is going to shoot off, and so will Quinn Ewers. Anthony Hill Jr. is special. He is special. 2 sacks in this game for him. He showed great bend. It was very reminiscent of that Harold Perkins game from last year where we're like, yo, he's that guy. Hill had that game against Alabama. And that massive, NFL-sized, we got these 350-pound, tackles. Caden Proctor, J.C. Latham. Didn't matter. Anthony Hill Jr. was the freshman in this game. It was a massive difference maker for Texas. Jalen Milroe is not him. I'm going to repeat for you one more time. Jalen Milroe is not him. He ain't the guy. But the fact that Saban didn't have the confidence to put in Simpson or Buckner might be more telling. Because Milroe was not that guy. He is that guy with his legs. All right, he is great running the football. But boy, oh boy, is he still raw as a passer. Sometimes he's going to throw that 40, 50-yard bomb. He threw to Jermaine Burton to, put Bama back on top and put them back in this game. Sometimes he can do that, but most of the time it's going to be some bad decision-making, some missed throws, and a lot of turnovers, all right? Against top competition, that's what's going to happen. Jalen Milroe is not him. Repeat after me. 14 for 27, 255, 2 touchdowns, like I said, the 49-yarder to Jermaine Burton. But he also had 2 interceptions. So, 2 very costly interceptions in his own territory. So, yeah, not great. Not great to say the least, especially in comparison to how surgical Quinn Ewers was. Night and day. There was a gulf in quality in terms of the quarterback play for Texas and the quarterback play for Alabama. I can't even blame the receivers for Alabama. It wasn't like, Isaiah Bond or Burton weren't showing up. They were getting open, in fact. It's just Milroe is not him. He's not. I'm sorry, but he's not. Caleb Downs is going to be him. Okay, I will say. I will give some shout-outs to Bama. It wasn't all bad. Caleb Downs, though that secondary did not have a great night, as we know. Clay McKinstry, for all the quarterback one shout-outs he's been getting about, he might be, I feel like a little bit, that might be just high school hype. Not that Clay's not good, but he was not that guy. He was not that guy on Saturday. Caleb Downs, though, is going to be a very, very special player. A very, very special player. His other safety beside him, Malachi Moore, also showed flashes of absolute greatness. He also had his own mistakes, but I think I tweeted out that I thought he was going to be a first-round safety. Okay? He looked that good at some periods. He was that good. He was a difference maker early on, especially. But eventually, as game wore on, Quinn Ewers took over, and like I said, Alabama doesn't have those dogs, and quarterback play is important. It is important for this Alabama team now because they don't have a Derrick Henry. They don't have a Mark Ingram, right? They don't have a Trent Richardson. They don't have Jahmyr Gibbs back there. They don't have that elite running back waiting around that they can just give it to when he's going to get, 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. They don't have that. They don't have that. They have Jace McCollum, who's solid, but he ain't that guy. So you better have a great quarterback and receiver core, and they don't. So Bama is going to be a lot worse than a lot of y'all were expecting, but I kind of expected this. Hook 'em horns. Oregon, we said we were going to talk about them earlier in the segment. Well, here we are. They were losing for the majority of this game. Okay, they were down 27-18 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Texas Tech looked like they were going to pull off the upset. Okay, this was the Jekyll and Hyde game for Tyler Shough, former Oregon quarterback Tyler Shough. The ultimate Jekyll and Hyde game. He was either best quarterback in the country or, oh dear God, get him off the field. It was one of the two, and when you don't have that balance, it is dangerous because they didn't put Oregon away. Like I said, you got to put teams away, and they did not put Oregon away, so they got put away. Bo Nix, 405 yards total, 2 touchdowns. Troy Franklin, is one of the most underappreciated, I think he's one of the most underrated players in college football. He had a really good season last year, and I don't think he's getting enough credit as one of the best receivers in America. I really don't. So shout out to Troy Franklin, even though it's Oregon. And y'all know I'm fight on. But Troy Franklin I'm giving him his flowers. All right, he is one of the best receivers in America. He had 6, 103 and a touchdown in this game. Oregon picked Shough off 3 times in this game. He went 383 yards, 4 touchdowns, but had 3 picks, 2 fumbles, and 1 of them lost. So that's 4 turnovers and 4 touchdowns and almost 400 yards. The ultimate Jekyll and Hyde game. The ultimate Two-Face. All right? We can call Shough Two-Face because that's what happened to Tyler in this game. He was brilliant, and then he was destructive. It was probably insanity for Texas Tech fans. Probably near insanity. Do got to give a shout out to Ben Roberts, though. He had 12 tackles, a sack, and 2 TFLs for Texas Tech. But it wasn't enough. Ultimately, it was not enough. Bass had the game-stealing pick 6 late in the game. That just kind of, put a lid on it. Okay? Oregon, get the win. They got Colorado next week, and that is going to be a big game. I know everybody's talking about Colorado versus USC, but y'all need that Oregon game is the first test. If Colorado beats Oregon, then we really need okay. That USC game becomes massive. It's big now, but it becomes massive. But they got to beat Oregon first and show that they're real. Everybody was talking about Nebraska. Nebraska was an obstacle, but if they beat Oregon, we talking. We talking. So next week's game going to be very interesting. Wazoo, the Pac-12 is up fantastic, as we've said last week. It was still up fantastic this week. Wazoo gets the win over Wisconsin. They get the upset, 31-22. They are now ranked. Cam Ward is that guy, 255, 2 touchdowns. We talked about a lot of people that are not him, like Jalen Milroe. We said Jalen Milroe is not him. Cam Ward is him. He is him. He was him in this game at the very least for Wisconsin. And you know who's usually him for Whiskey? You know who's usually him for the Badgers? Braylon Allen. You know who was not a factor in this game? Credit where credit is due to Washington State, but also to the offensive coordinator and to Wisconsin. What are you doing? Braylon Allen was a non-factor in this game. Not that he's ever been major receiving threat. And Chaz Malusi is also a very good running back. But the run game did nothing. Braylon Allen, I think, had 7 carries in this game, which is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Wisconsin, I don't know, what's going on, but let's just call a spade a spade. Y'all aren't doing anything if Braylon Allen is not your bell cow. I don't know if you're trying to save him for the league or what. He is the guy. He is the guy. He has been the guy since he got there as a 17-year-old. 2 years later, he is still the guy. Give him the rock. And if you need to give him a breather, then you give it a Chaz. He is the guy. He is the guy. So I don't know what the game plan was here, or if it was just Washington State, doing such a good job running defensively. But, defensively on the run. But listen, you're not winning games, and especially not games against good competition like in this game. You're not doing that with Braylon Allen getting 7 touches. Single digit, it's not happening. So, yeah. Hunter Wohler, 13 tackles, 1 TFL, 1 PD. Najong Meta, 10 tackles, 1 sack, 3 TFLs. And James Thompson Jr., 5 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 TFLs. Which team do you think those three players played for? Surprise, it's not Wazoo. That was Wisconsin. You had 3 defensive performances the caliber of that. Double-digit tackles, multiple tackles, multiple TFLs, sacks. You had that and still lost. Not good. Just not good from Wisconsin. USC, fight on. Of course, we got to talk about it, even though this was a massacre. We won 56-10 against Stanford. Oh boy. It's not good for y'all. Yeah. Caleb Williams did unholy things. Unholy things to that Stanford. We as a team did unholy things to Stanford. I mean, not that I thought Stanford was going to be this great team, but boy, oh boy, we beat the brakes off of them. What was it, 49-7 or 3 at halftime? It's just a massacre. A massacre. Caleb goes 19 for 21, 302 total, 4 touchdowns. He had the 70-yard bomb to Brendan Rice, which was gorgeous. He had another, he does it every week at this point. Another improvised sidearm into the end zone. He's the best in the world at that. Caleb, for all intents and purposes, looked like the guy that he is supposed to be, the best player in the country, the #1 overall pick. I don't care. He is still going to the draft. Don't get it messed up. But yes, Caleb we destroyed, okay? Just destroyed them. Marshawn Lloyd, by the way, had 77 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. Zach Branch is special. Okay, that punt return. I don't know how he accelerated that fast when he hit that corner on that left cut, the last one he made before he just took off. That acceleration was just different. All right, he just is different. He is different. Already might be the best returner in the country as a freshman. 3 games into his career. Just insanity. We destroy Stanford, and yeah, everything is good in Pasadena. Well, I almost said Pasadena. Hopefully we'll be going to Pasadena, but yeah, everything is good in SoCal. Other things in college football as we round this segment up finally after it almost was 30 minutes, or it may have been 30 minutes now looking at my clock. El Assico was terrible. Okay, we did have Trump was there because the Republican convention I think is in Iowa, so knowing some media, but more importantly, El Assico lived up to its name. Frentz didn't get the 25 points. He only got 20. They got the win, but it was 20-13 in true horrid, sicko fashion. But Iowa gets bragging rights over Iowa State. Maryland scored 38 unanswered on Charlotte, but we'll always have that first quarter where we were winning 14-0, and everything was great, and everything was shining, and everything was fantastic. So I will hold on to that. I will hold on to that to the end of time. That we were better. Not quite that level, but we were better. We were better. And you know what? I'll take that. UFC. We had UFC 293 from Down Under. Unofficial water break because I'm going to have to use my voice. Sean Strickland, as you know, is now the UFC middleweight champion. He won by unanimous decision over Israel Adesanya. And it was one of the most pitiful performances I think I've ever seen from a UFC champion. It was pitiful. It was dreadful from Izzy. It wasn't like, and he got outclassed, right? But it wasn't like, a flat. It wasn't like Leon knocking out Kamaru. It was simply, and Sean literally said this, it felt like he wasn't trying. It felt like Izzy wasn't. Now, y'all know, Stylebender that's my guy. Love him to death. One of the best, one of the greatest of all time. The second greatest, and he will forever now be the second greatest middleweight to ever live. For now. Until somebody better comes. Which, it's a fight game, that's what happens. But boy, oh boy. This was a mediocre performance from somebody as good as Izzy. And all the legendary moments we've seen Izzy come up with. Literally his last fight, one of the most iconic moments in the history of the sport. To come out on home turf against an inferior opponent the way that he did. I can't even hate on Sean Strickland. He showed up. He showed up with a game plan, and he executed it, and Izzy did nothing. So guess what? He deserved to lose the title. He did. He did. I didn't like the character that Sean tapped into. I thought it was kind of corny that, he kind of tapped into to, sell. I get it, trying to sell, trying to sell PPVs, trying to make that money. I get it. I wasn't really rocking with that, but the business-like manner that Sean went about beating Izzy up, I was cool with it. Izzy had one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a defending champion. He spent the entire build-up to this fight not worried about Sean Strickland. He spent the entire build-up to this fight worried about DDP, who we wanted to face in the first place. It only took Strickland because it was like, all right, he's the only one left that I haven't beaten. So, you know what? Sure, you get a try. He spent the whole build-up talking about DDP, talking about UFC 300, talking about Khamzat. Spent the whole build-up focused on that. And for the first time, I think maybe Izzy may have got lost in his own sauce. He's always been confident. He's always had that swagger about him. But for the first time, I'm thinking he may have gotten lost in his own sauce. Because he did not look focused in this fight. He was off from the jump. He came in with a near identical fight plan to the one he had against Alex, which only works in that fight against that particular fourth fight against Alex, which was, I'm going to shell up against the cage, try to play possum. He's going to extend because he knows or thinks he can knock me out, and then I'm going to put his lights out. That was the game plan. There was no, point five. It was nothing. That was the game plan. And when that didn't work and this is insane to say, for one of the highest IQ fighters we've seen, he was lost. It was an awful night, by the way, for City Kickboxing, which we'll get to. But he was lost. Izzy looked lost. Strickland was smart. He wasn't falling. He trained with Alex, right? He didn't fall for the, he's playing dummy. I'm going to be patient. He knocked Izzy down, by the way. First man to ever knock Izzy down. Knocked him down, right? But he didn't, and unfortunately, Izzy's chin is near titanium, so couldn't knock him out. But he didn't, overextend. He didn't get too, up in arms about it. Stayed calm. Just kept pressing forward. Didn't do too much. Did what was necessary to steal rounds, win rounds. Made the, even in that third round, which I gave to Izzy because he outstruck him. But a lot of people gave to Sean because he had the more significant, he had the more impactful shots. He did that. He came to win. Izzy came, I don't know what Izzy came to do, to be honest. I don't know what he came to do. It wasn't a win. Came in with one game plan that when it didn't work, he was lost. And Sean Strickland's a very good, if you didn't know, now you know, a very good defensive fighter. So Izzy wasn't landing, as great as a striker he is, he wasn't landing the way he used to. That jab wasn't working. Sean was giving him issues. So he was all out of decisions, and he couldn't adapt. For the first time, Izzy, the great adapter, could not adapt, could not find a way to win. He was lost. And he was lost because he didn't prepare. He didn't focus. You cannot, in the fight game, you cannot underestimate opponents at this level. You cannot discount opponents because they're, not who you wanted to fight, or because they're, a perceived lower level. The thing about Izzy, which propels him to greatness, but also propels him to this level, which we saw on Saturday night, is that he always fights to the level of his competition. So if he feels that you are on his level, or you are a challenge, he will pull out some of the greatest moments we will ever see in an octagon. But if he thinks you are on a lower level than him, then it is a glorified sparring match. And in this glorified sparring match, he got his ass kicked. That's what happened. You don't respect the fight game, it's going to take something from you. And in this case, it was Sean Strickland taking away your legacy and your title. Now we'll see once again how Izzy comes back from this. Or maybe this is the end. Maybe this is the fall off. This is the fight game after all. He's not going to be young forever. Maybe this is it. Maybe he never figures out. The same way Anderson never figured out Chris Weidman. Maybe Sean Strickland is his Chris Weidman. Maybe he never figures him out. But I surely hope in the rematch or whatever, we see Adesanya or the Stylebender next, he shows up and he's Israel Adesanya and he's not whatever we saw on Saturday. Because that was one of the worst performances I have ever seen from a champion ever. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, and I expect more from one of the greatest to ever do it. And yeah, that's what I had to say about the main event. Co-main event, Volkov, by the way, and Ty gave a hell of a show, by the way. Volkov subs Ty, no surprises there, round 2. Well, maybe it's a little bit surprised that it was a sub, but not really a surprise that it was a finish. Yeah, Volkov looked good. I mean, he was about to lose his leg, but you know what? He fought a really good fight. Did what was necessary to get the win. He gets the win. He moves up the heavyweight rankings. Manel Cape, or Cape. Yeah, it's Cape. It's Cape, yeah. Wants to get Cape's name right. He took on Felipe Dos Santos in his first ever UFC fight. And Felipe Dos Santos, welcome. Welcome. He might be one of them ones at flyweight. He might be one of them ones. This was his UFC debut, and he went toe-to-toe with the guy that's supposed to be the top up-and-coming contender in the division. He went toe-to-toe. He looked like he belonged. He didn't win this fight by any means. Cobb won by UD. He deserved to win by UD. He won all 3 rounds. But he showed he belonged. He was in there striking. He showed, different levels. He showed a lot of upside. Only 23. This was his debut on short notice against Cobb. Listen. Felipe Dos Santos might be one of them ones. Also on this score, like I said, City Kickboxing went 1 for 3, including Izzy's loss. So yeah, just not a great day. Not a great day. On home turf, not a great day. Did not protect home turf. Blood Diamond needs to be cut. Yesterday, he is not a good MMA. He's not that guy. He is not him. If he was not Izzy's friend, he would not have a job. Tyson Pedro and Tafa also had some vicious KOs. And yeah, that was UFC 293. But of course, the big story was the Stylebender not showing up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, entertainment. Winning time. All right, winning time. I forget what episode this is, so I'm not going to say it. I think it's 6. Okay. If you're not watching Winning Time, please watch it. I need it to be renewed. Okay. So listen to me. Listen to Ocho. All right. Very good show. Very good show. Another very good episode. This chronicled 2 years. So we had both games, both series against Philly, which of course, as you know, if you're an NBA historian, they won the first one, glorious, happy times. Pat Riley has arrived, and then they got punked and swept in the next one. Shout out to Moses Malone. He was a dog. Rest in peace. But yeah, we got to see that. We got to see the aftermath of that. Buss's relationship with Honey just completely falls apart. She served him for $100 million, which is crazy. Crazy money for the 80s. That is insane. So yeah, it turns out he was still married. Yeah, that one was on Dr. Buss. So yeah, that just kind of crumbles. Cookie returns to Magic, and Magic is happy days. He's taking over now as the guy. Kareem is reinventing himself. Broke the scoring record, so we got to see that kind of fall, and his house burning down before the season. So we got to see that and him kind of embracing, personality a little bit more. In this episode, Norm got traded finally to the Clippers. He wasn't too upset about it. He was just like, you know what? Thank you for everything. And then he beat him up when he played him during the season. So yeah, shout out to Norm Nixon. And of course, this was all the setup, of course. The first ever series versus the Lakers in Boston, which had that great, inning sequence with beat LA and F Boston. So yeah, very excited for this next episode. If you don't know, I'm not gonna spoil it. You can look up who wins that series, which is another reason why we need to get the series renewed. But yeah, you'll see what happens. You'll see what happens. But another great episode of Winning Time. Nothing happened in music. I mean, something happened in music, but nothing really relevant to me. Guts by Olivia Rodrigo came out. Was very good, apparently. I did not listen to it. I've, of course, seen the Twitter clips. It felt very Avril. Very Avril. Very punk rock, excuse me. Felt very angsty rock. Which, I mean, she can do, so, But, yeah, I didn't listen to Roddy, but apparently it was very good. She'll probably, dominate the Billboard charts for the week coming. V dropped Layover, which I reacted to, so if you want to see that, I reacted to, I think, 3 songs off of that. It was a very, very good project. Not long enough, however, for me to give a rating to, but it was very, very good. He is that guy. So, yeah, Layover dropped. Tizo Touchdown dropped. I didn't listen to that because I'm not a big Tizo fan. I liked his feature on, of course, Utopia, but I'm not going to sit here and ride him the way that the rest of the hip-hop community is. But I heard the project was good. Bongos by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion also came out, but I didn't listen to that either because I had no interest in listening to that, and I also heard it was trash. So yeah, that was music. Not a lot to talk about in entertainment, but Winning Time is the goods. Go watch it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have reached the main event of the evening. And we have been without it for so many days. So many days. But the NFL has returned to not only us, but of course to the 815 exchange. So let's talk about it. All right, let's kick it off. Thursday. Ring day once again for the Kansas City Chiefs, but about that. Yeah, that didn't really go to plan now, did it? No Travis Kelce, and I've said it. I said it before. I'll say it again. Now the Chiefs, of course, as long as they have Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Reid, it's fine having them as favorites. It's hard to bet against them with their track record, right? But here's the thing. They're not going to be able to live forever with just Mahomes and Kelce. That's not going to go on forever. Kelsey's getting up there in age. It's not going to work forever. And you can't mask the fact that you don't have an RB number 1. Pacheco's solid. He's solid. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. But more importantly, you cannot mask forever that you don't have a wide receiver 1. You don't have a wide receiver 2. You got a bunch of wide receiver 3s. And the best tight end of his era. But when he's gone, who does Pat have to throw to? Who does he have? Rashee Rice? Sky Moore. Sky Moore, who did nothing, the rookie. Again, he may be solid in the future. I'm not gonna rag on Sky too much, but he ain't ready yet. He ain't ready to be that guy yet. So it came down to one Kadarious Toney. Kadarious Toney. Who had, let's see, from scrimmage, including rushing yards, 0 yards. On 5 targets. He had 1 reception. He had 1 carry for -1 yards, and he had 1 reception for 1 yard. That is a total of 0. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 2, not 1, but 0. 0 yards. This is the guy. He couldn't make the Giants, by the way, but this is the guy that's supposed to step up. He had 0 yards. He had 3 drops, including 1 for a pick. Went right through his hands. It was the single worst. The single worst wide receiver performance I think I've ever seen in my life. And as a former wide receiver, it was disgusting. It was a disgusting, a revolting performance from Kadarious Toney, from Joker. He was a bum. He was the epitome. What a capital B, a capital U, a capital M, a bum. Alright? You could have taken a bum off the streets of Kansas City that would have given you more receiving yards than Kadarious Toney and probably caught more balls than him on Thursday night. It was the single worst receiver performance I have ever seen in my life at a NFL level, a collegiate level, and at a high school level. It was terrible. It was atrocious. It wasn't on Pat. It wasn't like Pat wasn't hitting him. Pat was hitting this man in the chest, and he couldn't catch it. He couldn't catch the flu in a contaminated zone. He couldn't catch COVID in 2020. Oh. I added an extra 20, my bad. But I just gotta say, it was horrid, okay? And you know what? Credit where credit's due, by the way. Amon-Ra St. Brown is that guy, 6 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. His fantasy owners were quite happy about that. But yes, Brian Branch got that pick 6 off of that glorious, glorious drop from one Kadarious Toney. And the Detroit Lions are 1-0. They beat the Chiefs 21-20. Okay? By the way, David Montgomery looked like the guy Jahmyr Gibbs was getting no burn. Looked good when he got burned, but got no burn. Monty looked like he might be the number 1 running back. So as a Jahmyr Gibbs fantasy owner, just great. But you know what? The Lions look much improved and went against the Super Bowl champs, and they took them out. Winning their crib and took over. Kadarious Toney is a bum. Ravens-Texans, not a great start. Okay, the Ravens now, a win is a win. It's the NFL now. A win is a win. And at 25-9, you'll take it. That was more, however, on this Ravens defense and the fact that the Texans are not a very good team yet. Okay, they are not. Their leading rusher in this game had 38 yards. Dameon Pierce. He was also on my fantasy team. That should tell you how my fantasy week went, yeah? That should tell you, okay? He had 72 yards total. They had 3 yards a carry. So, defense wasn't rolling. C.J. Stroud looked like a quarterback making his first start. It wasn't all bad. But yeah, none special. However, the Ravens defense looked special. Not as special as the Cowboys. We'll get to that. Don't worry. We're going to get to that. But still look very special. Roquan Smith, by the way, 16 tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs, even had a quarterback hit in this game. He was, incredible. Brandon Stevens, Patrick Queen, Ronald Darby, Ardarius Washington. I could go so on and so forth. It looked like the Ravens defense of old. Okay, that's how dominant they were in this game. Zay Flowers looked like he might be a future number 1 receiver. He had 9 receptions, 78 yards. In his debuts, Justice Hill was a true Matt Asiata type game. 8 carries, 9 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's all that matters. 2 touchdowns. I do have to give prayers, however, to J.K. Dobbins. Unfortunately, he tore his Achilles, and that is probably the end of his career, to be completely honest with you. His knees are gone, and now for you to tear your Achilles at 24. At 24, all this has happened. I really do sympathize with J.K. because that's just, I can't imagine losing your dream, losing everything that fast and just can't get healthy. So, yeah. Hate that for JK. Hate to end this on a sad note, but, yeah. Unfortunately, that's how that went down. Lamar Jackson looked very, very rusty, as he said in his own words. But the Ravens get the win. The Browns win against the Bengals in the Battle of Ohio in a torrential downpour. Joe Burrow became the highest paid man in football this week and then played the worst game of his... we haven't seen him play this bad. I don't even know if he played this bad in, garbage time at Ohio State. Okay? This was the worst game I've ever seen Joe Burrow play. The worst. He went 14 for 31, 82 yards. T. Higgins had 0 catches on 8 targets. 0. But it wasn't like a Kadarious Toney situation where he was just terrible. Not that he was good, obviously. But Joe just was not that guy. It was strange. He was just not that guy. Credit where credit's due, that Cleveland defense was all over him. That offensive line, by the way, which is supposedly the best offensive line that Joe Burrow's had, was non-existent. It looked like rookie year Bengals offensive line. Myles Garrett did what he pleased. And as a result, he had no time in the pocket. And that secondary for the Browns got to feast. They got to play a little bit of lockdown defense. Maybe it was Grant Delpit, his old digs playing against, his old boy Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Maybe he had a little bit of insider info. But for whatever reason, the Browns defense was on and popping, and you know what? Credit where credit's due. They got it done. They get the win 24-3. They start off 1-0. Again, I don't think it's really anything to panic for Cincy fans, but you know where? Credit where credit's due to the Bengals. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went into Minnesota. Nobody believes in the Bucs. They got Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback. And what does Baker do? He goes 173 passing and 2 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield looked like a starting quarterback. He looked, not going to say a franchise quarterback, but he looked like a capable starting quarterback in this game. He looked like a capable. He certainly outplayed Kirk Cousins, who was not. Now it's going paper. You're going to see 30 for 44, 344, and 2 touchdowns. So you're going to think, oh, not a bad game from Kirk. But a lot of that heavy lifting was the fact that he has the best receiver on the planet in Justin Jefferson. 9 receptions, 150, and a massive hit on that pick that Kirk threw in the red zone. Jettis was great. By the way, y'all did not get him the ball at all in the second half. He had 7 receptions, 143 or 134 in the first half. And he had 2 catches in the second half in a game that was tight. Come on now. Jordan Addison had a great debut. 4 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown on my fantasy bitch. But yes, the Buccaneers showed up defensively, gave Cousins some problems. Baker did what he had to do. Mike Evans is still Mike Evans. And you know what? That team doesn't have Brady anymore, but they still got some remnants of the teams that won. Antoine Winfield, Levante David, Devin White on that defense. And hey, they showed up. They got the win, 20-17. Minnesota, you might need to be a little bit concerned. Derek Carr is the new sheriff in town in New Orleans, and it was a very up and down debut. Very up and down. They got the win 16-15, so that's all that matters. Like I said, a win is a win in this league. But it was a very up and down debut. He still had 305 yards, but he also had 1 touchdown. He had 1 pick, so it was up and down. We'll see. I think that could be a good fit. Michael Thomas looked, for all intents and purposes, looked back. Okay? He looked back. He looked almost at times like, Mike Thomas of old. Chris Olave had a very quiet 8 reception, 112 yards, by the way. I saw a lot of people online complaining. But if you look at this, he still had over 100 yards and 8 receptions. So, it could work. It could work in New Orleans. I think their defense was the most impressive part. Marshawn Lattimore is still, to this day, one of the best cornerbacks on God's green earth. He had 4 pass deflections and a pick in this game. They had 3 picks. 3 picks of Ryan Tannehill. The Titans looked like they were going to be in Caleb Williams' territory. They did not look good. Ryan Tannehill did not look good. He looked washed. He went 16 for 34, 3 picks, under 200 yards. King Henry never really was able to get loose besides that 46-yard reception. DeAndre Hopkins had 7 receptions, 65 yards, but again, nothing special, nothing to really make a difference here. They got 4 sacks a car. Like I said, it was an up and down game, but that defense for the Saints came to play, and they get the win 16-15. They start off 1-0. The Falcons take out the Panthers 24-10. Des Ridder, 15 for 18, 115 and a touchdown. You'll take this all day. If you're the Falcons, this is going to be the game plan. Unfortunately, Kyle Pitts did nothing. Drake London didn't have a catch, which you don't want to see. In fact, Drake London had 1 target. 1. Of course, you don't want to see that, but you know what? You'll take it. Ridder didn't do too much. Managed the game. Y'all got the win against a divisional opponent. Algar had 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bajan had a touchdown in this game. A disgusting touchdown at that. You'll take it. You'll take it. And listen, a lot of people saw Bryce Young, he's a Panther, and thought, hey, it's a weak NFC South. Panthers they're my dark horse. I saw a lot of Panthers are their dark horse. Panthers have a shot. The Panthers are not a good football team. They're not. Not yet. They got Bryce, step 1. They still got steps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 to go. They are not going to be a very good football team this year. So y'all need to temper your expectations and what you think is going to happen, because they're not a good team yet. They're not. Bryce was not. He went 20 for 38, 1 touchdown. He had 2 picks. He's not that guy yet. It's okay. It's okay. This is a rebuild. It's okay. But let's relax on, instant fix. It's not going to happen like that. It's not. The Panthers are, once again, probably going to have like a top 5 pick. They're not going to be a very good team. Even in a bad division, they're not going to be a good team. But that's okay. It's a rebuild. Y'all just need to be more realistic because y'all were kind of talking crazy before this game about what they could be. But here's what they are. The biggest surprise, one of the biggest surprises of the week, however, was Anthony Richardson. I did not think he was going to be ready, and honestly, he played the best of any of the rookie quarterbacks. He played better than Stroud. He played better than Bryce. He showed up and gave the Colts a fighting chance. Now, he threw that very costly pick that ultimately ended up costing him the game in a way, though I can't really put it all on him. But he played the best. Of any of the rookie quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson played the best. He had 263 yards total, 2 touchdowns. Like I said, he did throw that pick. But for all intents and purposes, he showed all of the flashes of being a franchise quarterback for the Colts. And for them, you have to be ecstatic. In game 1, the quarterback that everybody kind of pointed to that, that's the one that's going to struggle. He had his moments, but you know what? He showed a lot of that upside that made you pick him as high as you did. So shout out to AR because he looked good. And, of course, that celebration was sick. The 360 spike, that was dope. He needs to make that his regular celebration. So, yeah, AR5 did his thing. Michael Pittman Jr., a lot of people were questioning whether he's going to be able to be a number 1 target. Would AR be able to get the ball to him? First game against a good Jags team, no problem. 8 receptions, almost 100 yards, and a touchdown. Deion Jackson is not an NFL running back. He is an XFL running back. Y'all do need to fix that. He had 2 fumbles for a loss. Zaire Franklin, by the way, was all over the field. And a big reason why they were able to stop the Jags as much as they did, he had 18 tackles in this game. 18 and a pass deflection. He was tackling everything with a pulse. Now that I've talked about the Colts, let's talk about the team that won, okay? Trevor Lawrence is... Urban Meyer is a football terrorist. He is a terrorist. That is in a little bit bad taste because it is 9/11. We do remember, by the way. But what he did to Trevor Lawrence is, it's disgusting. What he did to this Jags team. Because it's night and day. It's night and day. Trevor Lawrence is a special, special player. He is everything we said he was going to be. It appears he's going to be. The pick he had in this game wasn't even his fault because it hit the man in his hands. Hit the man dead in his hands. He basically volleyball lofted it up to the defender. Okay, so great game from Trev. 2 touchdowns. Him and Kevin Ridley have gone to each other like White goes to Rice. 8 receptions, 101 and a touchdown. Take Bigsby, not bad. Josh Allen had 3 sacks. The Jags look good. I don't know what else to say. They looked really, really good. They could be dangerous again. All right, not too much to talk about for this next one. Okay? No disrespect to the Steelers, but boy. That preseason was a mirage because Kenny Pickett did not look like that guy. He was god-awful. He had 2 interceptions in this game. Brock Purdy, again, looks like Mr. Irrelevant, so a franchise quarterback. 220 and 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey had 152 and a touchdown. And that's not including the fact that he also had 3 receptions and 17 yards receiving. Brandon Ayuk took the jump, apparently. 8 receptions, 129 and 2 touchdowns. They cooked. Simply put, they cooked. They absolutely cooked the Steelers. It was a horrific day defensively. It was a horrific day offensively. I don't need to laminate on it because it was just bad, okay? Washington and Arizona. Arizona, once again, is everybody tapped as the worst team in the league. They did nothing to disprove that in this game. The Commanders also did not look like a great team. Sam Howell in his week 1 start, should I say. 202, a touchdown and a pick. It was up and down, nothing too crazy. Josh Dobbs, of course, started this game for Arizona, so that should tell you about the state of that team. It was nothing crazy. Defensively, though, it was a very good game for Washington, but yeah, they win 20-16. They held on. Yada, yada, yada. The Raiders beat the Broncos 17-16. Russell Wilson. Maybe Future was right, okay? Maybe he was right. He went 27 for 34, 177, and 2 touchdowns. But listen, Denver is just, they got no juice, man. They got nothing that excites you offensively. Now, I know Judy is out with the hamstring, but they have absolutely nothing that, nothing Like, I feel like they should, but they just got nothing. That instills any type of, like, okay, we got something cooking offensively. They got absolutely nothing. They got beat by the Raiders. I don't even know if the Raiders are going to be any good this year. I don't think they're going to be a very good team this year. And they got beat at home. Jimmy G, go ahead to Jacoby Myers. Myers had 2 touchdowns, 9 receptions, 81 yards. Jimmy G outplayed Russell Wilson. It was not a great. Denver is in purgatory. Okay, they're in a period where they're too talented to be one of the worst teams, but they're not good enough to be a playoff team, so they're in purgatory. It's just not good. It is not good. One of the best games, the best game of the week. Besides, we'll talk about the Cowboys. Okay, we'll talk about the Cowboys. The best game of the week was Miami versus, again, very similar to what I talked about earlier, much earlier now, with Carolina and App State. Whenever Justin Herbert and Tua play, it's just good. It's just good. It's just a good game. The Dolphins and the Chargers should play every year because it's always a good game. It's always a shootout. It's always a back-and-forth game. And they're always going to be connected because of their draft position. It just works, okay? It just works. The Dolphins get the win on the road. Boy, oh boy, Tua went off. 28 for 45, 466 and 3 touchdowns. Cheetah is still Cheetah. Everybody keeps waiting for Cheetah to fall off, and Cheetah has not fallen off. He is making Kansas City look foolish for letting him go. 11 receptions, 215 and 2 touchdowns. Cheetah is still Cheetah. He is still one of the best receivers in the world. Don't get it messed up. Tua, like I said, he balled out. I mean, they did a great job putting weapons around him. Simply put, did a great job putting weapons around him, and he's been able to flourish. Javon Holland had a monster game, 14 tackles as a safety and a TFL. Deshaun Elliott also had 13 tackles. Jalen Phillips with a big-time TFL, QB hits, 2 QB hits in this game. They did a great job with pressure, whether it was him, Christian Wilkins, Bradley Chubb was getting in there. They did a great job, especially in the big moments against Justin Herbert. And really stifled that Chargers offense and stopped them from, really continuing the momentum that they had built. Because, of course, the Chargers had their moments in this game, but did a good job just kind of cutting it short. Bend, but didn't break. Justin Herbert had 228 and a touchdown. He was still solid. Austin Eckler is also not falling off. 117 yards and a touchdown for the biggest touchdown in Fantasy Merchant in the game. He also had 4 receptions, 47 yards. He is the PPR god. Slayer had 6 receptions, 76 yards. Shout out to the 336 legend himself, Keenan Allen. But, like I said, it wasn't enough. They didn't get enough pressure, I think, on Tua. They let him be too comfortable. Again, credit where credit is due to that Miami offensive line for keeping their franchise quarterback protected, which is not something they did a great job of last year. So, yeah, credit where credit's due. It was one of the best games of the best game of the week. Early game of the year contender by default. But, yeah, Tua, Cheetah, too much. Miami gets the win on the road. The Eagles spoil Tom Brady's just kind of like ceremony, number retiring, whatever it was. But he was there, and it just... Mac Jones, 360. I'm not going to slander Mac Jones this week. I know we slandered him a lot last year. I'm not doing it. Okay, 316, 3 touchdowns. He was good in this game. However, when your leading rusher is Zeke Elliott with 29 yards, you're probably not going to beat the defending NFC champions who returned everybody. It's probably not going to happen, and it did not happen. Jalen Hurts did not look like an MVP candidate in Game 1. We'll see what happens the rest of the season. But yeah, he was not too great, and honestly, it was Darius Slay's pick 6 that was a backbreaker early on, and the Patriots just felt like they were playing catch up for the rest of the game, just trying to inch forward, trying to break through, and every time they had a chance of breaking through, they had a misfortune or they couldn't get a play to go. And eventually, the Eagles were able to outlast them. They get the win, 25-20. But the Patriots gave them a very good fight. The Packers, it looks like it's going to be another 20 years of a Hall of Fame quarterback for the Packers. I'm not going to say he's the guy yet, but boy, Jordan Love looked like, again, you got a raw quarterback, don't play him immediately. Sit him, and it just seems to pay off, okay? Because Love looked worth it. He looked worth it. Everything, he looked worth it. 245 and 3 touchdowns for Jordan Love. He balled out. Justin Fields did not look worth it. He did not look worth it at all. He looked like maybe we need to talk about Caleb Williams to the Bears. Or Drake May to the Bears. Or Shedeur Sanders to the Bears. Or or whoever to the Bears, okay? Because he did not look like the answer. We keep waiting for Justin Fields to put it together. And to be fair, the Bears have the worst track record with quarterbacks. So not all of the blame is on him, But, yeah, not great again, especially in comparison to Jordan Love, who looked like the franchise quarterback. Like I said, looked like another 20 years people were talking about. Wasn't great. Was not great from Fields. A costly pick six. Quay Walker with a very running back-esque return on that, by the way. Looked like he could, get some carries off of Aaron Jones and Mr. Dillon. But, yeah. We keep waiting for Fields to make the jump. He hasn't. Love looks like he has. The Rams took care of the Seahawks 30-13. The Seahawks, looks like the Geno Smith experiment has concluded. It was very nice. It was very fun last year. Looks like all that is over. Okay. Kyron Williams apparently is RB1. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. Stafford did what was necessary. And it was wide receiver by committee. And it worked out. Tutu Atwell, 6 receptions, 119. Puka Nakao, 10 receptions, 119. It was glorious. It was glorious for Rams. For Rams fans, you probably be like, yes. Hey, receivers are easy. No cup, no problem. All right? Because it was. It was no cup, no problem. Aaron Donald had Geno Smith scared and pissing down his leg. It was great. It was great. It was tears running down your face type day for the Rams. They get the week 1 win. And yeah, Seahawks, like I said, looks like it's finished. Oh boy, I've been waiting on this one. I've been waiting on this one to the fact that I have a Cowboys football beside me this entire time. Because boy, oh boy, them boys are back. Them boys are back, and the New York Giants are a facade. And you know what is true? The Cowboys defense is what is true. Micah Parsons is true. Trevon Diggs is true. The Cowboys are true. We beat the brakes, went into New York, and took over 40-0, a 40 burger. A 40 burger for the Giants. They had nothing for us. Absolutely nothing. Daniel Jones, all that, it's done. 104 yards and 2 picks for him. Saquon only had 51 yards. They had nothing really going receiving-wise. DJ had 2 fumbles. Isaiah Hodgins had a fumble. They lost one of them. They were able to recover a lot of them, but that Diggs on Hodgins, that was gorgeous. I mean, that was just a work of art. A work of art. This game was a work of art, okay? I might replay this game for years and years and years. When I'm sad and down, I can always remember on September 10th, 2023, when we beat the piss out of the New York Giants. I can always remember that because we punked the Giants. Daniel Jones, like I said, mediocre day. The defense was great. Marquise Bell, welcome. Came out of nowhere. Welcome. LVE up to no good. Stephon Gilmore got a pick. Daron Bland had a pick 6. I already mentioned Diggs. Micah Parsons is, of course, quite possibly the best defensive player in the world. Osaya, Dorrance, both had 2 sacks apiece. We sacked DJ 7 times. Once again, it was glorious. Tony Pollard, by the way, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dak didn't really have to do too much, to be honest, in this game. Not that it really mattered, because, how about them boys? How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? We put it on the Giants. Now, I am a Cowboys fan of 22 years since the day I was born, so I am used to this. This ain't new. So I'm not going to come up here and say we're going to the Super Bowl, but hey, what a start. What a start, What a start. We'll see what happens, but what a start. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally reached the Roundup, or if you skipped here, welcome. NASCAR, Kansas, 23-11. We up good, baby. Tyler Reddick gets the win at Kansas, then he gets second. So, yeah, great day for 23-11. Besides Bubba spinning, which was unfortunate, but Reddick wins. He's on to the next round. He gets the win at Kansas. He has been a great pickup for them. U.S. Open. After Carlos Alcaraz lost to Daniil Medvedev and Novak closed the phone open show, which, by the way, let the kids celebrate. Let the kids celebrate. All right, he took it from Novak. Novak is a well-known hater and not a great person, to be completely honest. Though he's a hell of a tennis player, arguably the GOAT, so let's be honest. So again, I don't know why y'all are up in arms about him being cocky. I don't think it's really cocky. I think it's just the way he plays. But anyways, after Carlos lost, we kind of knew what was going on. Noah wins his 24th and his 4th U.S. Open over Medvedev in straights. No real surprise there. However, more importantly, more interestingly, Coco Gauff wins her very first U.S. Open in her very first major. She gets it in 3 sets. The comeback against the new number one player in Sabalenka. So yeah, shout out to Coco. She's also the number one player in doubles now at Pagola. So how about that? How about that for Coco, young 19-year-old Coco Gauff, finally realizing her potential. It was never in doubt. It was never in doubt. But yeah, that was dope for Coco. Love her. Future of the sport. None else really much to say about that. But yeah, here's the U.S. Open. I watched a ridiculous amount of tennis these past couple weeks. Sadly, unfortunately, the Martian tore his UCL, so all happiness has gone away from the Yankees season. Wishing the Martian a very, very speedy recovery because we can have nothing good this year. The Yankees can have absolutely nothing good. But on the upside, though, Luis Rubales, the scummy Spanish FA president, has resigned. So, round of applause, ladies. Round of applause, everybody that supported. We got him out of there. Another one bites the dust. Rest in peace, Bozo. But yeah, can't do what he did. And it's embarrassing, honestly. This was the biggest moment in the female Spanish football team's history, and it's been overshadowed because you kissed a player. It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. But he resigned, so like I said, R.I.P. Bozo. Get him up out of here. Great news to end off 162-1. This was a very long episode. My voice was gone at some points of this. You probably could tell during, I think it was the NFL segment, I think it started going. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a very packed episode, a lot of good stuff. And yeah, I will see you next week, or if you're here for the reaction videos, I will see you later in the week. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again, by the way, before I end, to all the first responders on 9/11, for everybody that lost anybody, respects. And yeah, that said, ladies and gentlemen, it was a great week in sports. Hopefully it'll be a great one next week. Ocho, signing off.